Hi everyone, my name is Aislinn, and here I will be presenting my honors thesis on the evaluation of sources and cycling of particulate organic carbon in Baffin Bay, conducted under the supervision of Dr. Brett Walker. Particulate organic carbon, or POC, is a component of the marine carbon cycle, illustrated in the top right, that facilitates the delivery of atmospheric carbon fixed by primary producers in the euphotic zone to the deep ocean for burial. POC is operationally defined as all organic matter that does not fit through a given filter pore size. In the case of the study, this is all material larger than 2 microns. POC can come from a variety of sources. Autochthonous POC is that produced in situ in the euphotic zone by primary producers through the incorporation of dissolved inorganic carbon. Allochthonous POC is organic detritus from all other sources, which can include terrestrial runoff, resuspended sediment, POC ejected from elsewhere, as well as glacial sources. Luckily, these sources can be constrained using radiocarbon and stable carbon isotopic measurements. Baffin Bay is a semi-enclosed ocean basin lying between Kuala Unat, or Greenland, and Kikikteluk, or Baffin Island. It is connected to the Arctic Ocean via several northern gateways, the most important being Nares Strait and Lancaster Sound. It is connected by Davis Strait in the south to the North Atlantic. Baffin Bay has contrasting hydrographic conditions on either side, illustrated by sea surface temperature and salinity plots I created using data collected during the cruise. The west side of the bay is characterized by a southwards flowing current known as the Baffin Island Current, composed of cool and fresh waters from the Arctic Ocean. The east side of the bay is characterized by the warm, salty West Greenland Current that flows northwards from the North Atlantic. Our hypothesis is predicted that radiocarbon and stable isotope values of POC would vary spatially in relation to the Baffin Island Current and the West Greenland Current. Samples were collected on a cruise in Baffin Bay in July 2019 by my supervisor Brett Walker. Samples of particulate organic carbon are collected on filters through which seawater is pumped. Samples were taken from 11 stations, marked by diamonds in the map on the left. These samples were frozen, and lab work began in October 2020. We took only a section of the filter and combusted it to CO2, and the CO2 gas was extracted and sealed in tubes, with part of it going to a Del 13C analysis on the CO2 gas using isotope ratio mass spectrometry at UCI, and the rest was converted to graphite for 14C analysis using accelerator mass spectrometry, also at UCI. Del 13C is a useful measurement for determining the source of POC. 13C values tell us about the source because they're affected by isotopic fractionation by primary producers, which in turn can be affected by latitude, temperature, growth rate, etc. Here we plot Del 13C against salinity, intended as a proxy for water mass, showing us that 13C is indeed segregated by water mass properties. BB18, a high productivity fjord environment, has Del 13C consistent with high amounts of in situ production. Stations from Nares Strait, 108, and Lancaster Sound, 323, are both influenced by waters from the Arctic Ocean and have similar Del 13C. Waters from the high salinity West Greenland Current are grouped together, as well as the low salinity Baffin Island Current, which has the lowest Del 13C values compared to the other stations. And while these depleted 13C values could implicate non-phytoplankton allochthonous sources, the natural range of phytoplankton-derived POC actually encompasses all these values. So, to further investigate the sources of POC, we can look at radiocarbon values. Using the range of values of surface dissolved inorganic carbon in Baffin Bay, we can further narrow down POC sources. POC that lies within the range of surface DIC is indicative of it being primarily composed of autochthonous surface-derived material. Here we confirm that POC from several stations, such as BB18, is produced in situ, as well as several stations along the West Greenland Current and the gateway stations. Above the range of surface DIC, we have allochthonous POC that is enriched in bomb carbon, which could represent terrestrial organic matter or older marine POC that has been retained in Baffin Bay or ejected from elsewhere. BB2 and 224 are located in the central basin of Baffin Bay and in proximity to the Baffin Island Current, and 204 is located along the Greenland coast. You can also see that 204 was somewhat of an outlier in the 13C plot on the left and is thus likely influenced by similar POC sources as BB2 and 224. And because there are no major river outlets in Baffin Bay and these stations are located quite far from shore, we determined that this positive 14C source is likely old POC retained within Baffin Bay. POC below the range of surface DIC represents contributions from older sources such as resuspended sediments, aerosol, or glacial sources. It is most likely that the source of this negative 14C was from resuspended sediments, a common source of POC negative in 14C. Our results show that POC in Baffin Bay comes from a number of sources, and these sources are largely controlled by water mass and surface circulation. Varying amounts of in situ phytoplankton-derived POC are observed, controlled by environment and circulation, concentrated along the West Greenland Current and in fjord environments. These data are the first POC radiocarbon values reported for the region, providing baseline data to monitor future change in the region. Finally, I just want to say a special thank you to my supervisor and to everyone who has helped out every step of the way, as well as the Canada Research Shares Program and NSERC for providing funding for this research. Thank you for listening.